Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Bitter Rivals, episode 96. I am Avery, your host, along with co-host Gitano Gallo. And the Leafs have been eliminated again, this time in the second round, but honestly in quite embarrassing fashion. So I'm not even sure if winning a round means anything at this point because they were so bad in the second round. And it wasn't even bad hockey. It was honestly mostly results. They played a very good fifth game, even though they lost. I thought they should have won both the first and the second game, but they didn't. And that's what it came down to. They just didn't win. They had mental lapses in that second game. They had a minute and 11-second mental lapse, and 2 goals were scored, and they never recovered. They went down 2-0 in game 5, and they never recovered. Like they tied it, and then they just ran out of gas, and they couldn't get it done in the overtime. And that's just what sometimes it comes down to, right? So anyway, we'll get more to the post-mortem after. Let's start in the West, like you said you wanted to, because both of those series are still going on. So let's talk Vegas and Edmonton first.
Yeah, so the Golden Knights are up 3-2 heading into Game 6 in Edmonton. Honestly, been an absolutely disgraceful series, if we're being quite honest.
It's been an entertaining series.
Entertaining, yes, but some of the antics and the bullshit has just been next level absurd.
Well, emotions are high. I understand it. I wouldn't say that it was it's some of the players should definitely be embarrassed about the shit that they've done. Like Evander Kane taking that cross check at Pietrangelo. I don't know how that doesn't go suspended. McDavid even boarded Pietrangelo at one point. He's right. They're targeting him as well. It's not just what he did to Draisaitl, which was egregious. I will admit to that. It was awful. You can't do that. But I think where a lot of people have a problem with that particular play and the resulting suspension is that Nurse also had 1 game for his instigator penalty. So why don't we talk about that? And maybe it's not this particular case, maybe it's the rule book that needs to be changed. How is the punishment for what Nurse did the same as the punishment for what Pietrangelo did?
Well, so here's it. I don't hate the Nurse suspension, the instigator with under 5 minutes left. I don't hate that being 1 game.
See, I do, and the reason I do is because Nick Hagg's teammate, Mark Stone, after the game, said that they agreed to that fight on the face-off shot.
The rule itself, I don't hate.
It's a dumb rule.
In this particular instance, it was used poorly. I will admit that 100%. You know, if 2 guys say let's fight, why are you giving someone an instigator? You know what I mean? That's basically exactly the opposite of what the instigator is for. If me and you say let's fight, there's no instigating. I'm not trying. It's just let's go. You say yes and we go. But the rule itself, I don't particularly hate. I think it's a good way to kind of try and keep things in line. But of course, this is literally the first time they've called it in honestly, it feels like 6 years, an instigator with under 5 minutes left. So
yeah.
If it was called more kind of consistently and regularly, I don't think there'd be as big of a problem with it. But because they chose to, enforce it now in the playoffs, not a great look. Well, but I don't hate that it
coupled with the 1 game suspension for Pietrangelo, which was just grossly that was just unbelievably bad. There's no way that is only worth a game. I'm sorry, no matter what way you slice it, there is no way that is only 1 game.
No I have so many things I want to say about it. First, that is by far the worst, thing we've seen in the playoffs this season, right? By far. In terms of things that deserve supplemental discipline. And the fact that Bunting's fucking elbow. We agreed definitely a suspension, right? We could argue the fine details of how many, but 2 to 3 we kind of figured was ballpark. If you're gonna say that elbow is 2 to 3 games, then a lumberjack fucking swing at a guy's arms after he scored the empty netter.
No, he literally just dumped the puck around, he rimmed the puck around the boards, and it was about 30 feet away from him behind the net.
Whatever the thing, you taking a fucking lumberjack swing at a guy should be 10 minimum. If you're gonna say that the bunting elbow is 3, then like taking a lumberjack swing at a guy has got to be like 10.
So we're in the playoffs right now. If you're saying that's 10, you think that's a 20-game regular season suspension? Because that's outrageous. That's way too far, and that's soft. Sorry, but it is.
Chris Simon, if that's Chris Simon and not Alex Pietrangelo making that swing, he gets fucking 40 games, Dave.
There are absolutely, I'm sorry, those are not the same thing. You cannot compare what Chris Simon did to what Alex Pietrangelo did. He took a baseball. No. He took a baseball swing at a guy's head like it was a T-ball.
And he rightfully got 25 games for it. I'm not arguing that. He probably should have got more if we're gonna be real about it.
You're so soft, it's not even funny. But anyway, continue.
Bro, you cannot fucking take a lumberjack swing at a guy like that. Like,
yes,
you just
but it's
can't.
not worth 20 games,
just
man. It's a slash.
Can't.
Like, come on. That is at a maximum. I don't think it was 1 game, obviously, but that is at a maximum 3 or 4 games in the playoffs, dude. And if you think more than that, then you have not watched hockey for long enough, my friend.
I've watched hockey my entire fucking life, Abe, and I've known for my entire fucking life you cannot take a fucking swing at a guy like that with your stick.
Okay, settle down.
You can't.
Settle down.
Anyways.
You are getting heated and...
Yeah. Because well, we got heated last night talking about it in the garage too, but it's just like, it's so frustrating when like you look at that, the bunting elbow gets 3, the Petro slash gets 1. It's like, what?
No, to be clear, there wasn't even an injury on the play. Just to be 100% clear here. There was not even an injury, which does go into the decision making when handing out a suspension. We understand that.
Like I think for a hockey play, yes. Hockey, but that's not a hockey play at all.
God.
It's not, Avery, that is not a hockey play.
No, I understand that. It was purely the whole intent to injure was to slash, but Gitano, you see that 35 times a game. Not that egregious, but you see people slashing guys without the puck 35 times a game. You're going to give every single one of those guys a fucking 20-game suspension?
If they take a fucking lumberjack swing and wind up like that, yeah. You okay. Want that in the game, Avery? You want fucking you want Austin Matthews and Mitch Martin and William Nylander taking slashes like that?
No, that's why I think he should get a 4-game suspension, which would be the equivalent of an 8-game suspension in the regular season using the general rules that we know they actually use. So I think that's fair. I think going more than that is absolutely ridiculous, to be honest with you. And it's soft.
No.
Yep.
No. Like,
yes.
Not wanting guys to be fucking swinging their sticks like fucking lightsabers around the ice is not soft.
I never said that it's okay. That's why I just said they deserve to be suspended. But you're asking you're acting like these guys are pulling out guns and shooting guys on the ice. Like it's a slash. It happens all game long. Game long.
Not like that though, Abe. That's like saying
I know, and that's why it deserves to be suspended for 4 games, Gitano.
But I'm saying if you're suspending Bunting's elbow for 3, there's no way that fucking lumberjack swing is only worth 1 more or 2 regular season more. No way.
Yes, it is. That is it. Yes, absolutely. No. Because we're talking about one of the things that the NHL has to be like. You're talking about head injuries. That's what happened as a result of the bunting play. Head injuries are significantly worse than what Pietrangelo did to Draisaitl. He didn't swing at his head. He chopped at him. He did not break a bone. We're not like, come on. We can't be suspending guys for 20 games for slashes. That's just. What Chris Simon deserved 25 games because it was a baseball swing at a guy's head. This was an overzealous slash at a guy's arm. We're not suspending 20 games for that. Once we start doing that, that's a slippery slope, man. A very slippery slope. And the PA would never let it happen either. Just to be clear, the PA would never let it happen.
I 100% agree with that. I don't think that's a slippery slope. That would, again, and this would be the Department of Player Safety taking player safety seriously, saying, we're not having any of this fucking bullshit ever again. You swing your stick like that, you're facing serious fucking consequences. This Department of Player Safety would never do that because they don't give a fuck. But like an actual Department of Player Safety that cares about player safety would be having none of that. And that would be the end of swings like that. Nobody would fucking do it. Because nobody would want 20 games.
To be clear, nobody was injured on the play. No injury.
Thank fuck. we're Draisaitl almost had a fucking record-breaking playoffs, and they're only in round 2 in terms of goal scoring, destroyed by that.
That happened literally, like, there's been a game and a half since that happened, dude.
Yeah, I know. I get that. But I'm saying, like, when that happened, like, Draisaitl, when he still is in the middle of one of the greatest goal-scoring, like, playoffs of all time.
Yeah.
And, like thank fuck he didn't get hurt, because, you know, we're missing, like, we would have been missing out on more of this. And, you know, the Oilers could be missing out on one of their best players. They're probably their best player of the playoffs in a crucial game 6 and 7.
Honest question then. Honest question.
Yeah.
Do you think that what Pietrangelo did deserves more of a suspension than what Kane did to him? Because Kane, to me, did something more egregious to Pietrangelo than Pietrangelo did to Draisaitl.
I think they were both awful, and both should have been.
So you're saying that you think Kane should have got a 20-game plus suspension in the regular season for that? You actually believe that?
I wouldn't say 20, but I would. Bro,
that's what you just called for Pietrangelo. So are you saying that what Pietrangelo did was worse?
100%. 100%.
Went for a guy's arm, not his head.
I mean, like, look, they're both fucking awful plays, Avery. They should both have been lengthy suspensions. That's like, both should have been lengthy suspensions. You can't fucking cross-check a dude in the face. You know, Matthews proved you can't do that. Kane should have gotten a suspension for that. And Petro should have got a way longer suspension for the fucking lumberjack swing.
You're not taking, like you calling for a 10-game suspension in the playoffs for that. I'm sorry, I can't get over it. That is outrageous. That is absolutely outrageous. Like, I know that the Department of Player Safety is inept and can't do their job, but, like, that can't happen either. You can't start giving out suspensions for slashes like that. Like, that's just not... Like I said, Gitano, that I can... Maybe they're not as egregious as that, but that play happens, like, 40 times a game, dude.
It does not, Avery. It does not. A two-hand over-the-top fucking swing at a guy like that does not happen 40 times.
That's what I just said. Not as egregious, but slashes happen on almost every shift that a guy takes.
Yes, and so do cross-checks. Do you want to suspend every single cross-check in the game? No, but the ones to a guy's head, yeah, you do. Because it's not the same as fucking just a normal-ass cross-check. That was not a normal slash, Abe. That's a fucking lumberjack swing at him. You're soft, and that's the end of the conversation. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Moving on to the Dallas-Seattle series. No. What game 6 prediction, at least? Pardon? At least give us, let's get game 6 predictions. Vegas, Edmonton, and Edmonton.
Vegas.
Yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure we're on the same page there.
Vegas,
yeah.
Yeah.
Seattle and Dallas are tied at 3. Game 7 goes tomorrow night, I believe.
Yeah.
Hell of a series so far.
Yeah. It's been an interesting one. Dallas, like, Ottinger looked like shit last night. I was not expecting that. He was pulled in the second period.
I think second, yeah.
And he just looked off. And I don't think that's something that a lot of people were expecting. I thought anyway that he was going to carry that team as far as they were going to go. And I guess he has carried them as far as they're going to go. Seattle looks very, very dangerous. They tied it up at 3 last night. Game 7 tomorrow, like you said. And boy, am I looking forward to it. That's going to be a very, very fun hockey game to watch.
The games that Dallas has lost, Ottinger's looked fucking horrific. Like, he's not... If he's not giving them a chance to win the game, they will not win at all. Like, straight up. So I think I'm gonna take Seattle to win Game 7. I think
I'm also taking Seattle to win Game 7. I would like to see a Seattle-Vegas conference final.
That's wild. That's a wild statement.
It is.
Like, think back, like,
very possible, isn't it?
Like, think back just like a couple years, being, oh yeah, like Seattle and Vegas not even having teams are going to be fucking conference finals
in 2023. Nuts.
Wild. Let's go to the East, where Carolina did end up beating New Jersey Devils. They didn't get the sweep off. But they Devils did win Game 4. Yeah, like a lot.
Yeah, they did a very, very good job. of what they do best in that series, and that's forechecking and running 4 lines, all working extremely hard and outworking their opposition, and that's exactly what they did for 4 out of the 5 games. They were all blowouts, every single game, including the one that New Jersey won. Am I right in saying that, or was it just most?
So we've got 5-1, 6-1, 8-4, 6-1, and then 3-2 in overtime.
Oh, yes, it was the overtime goal. That's right. Who scored the overtime winner in that game?
Jesper Fath tipped in a Jesperi Kotkaniemi shot.
Yes, that was devastating for those New Jersey Devils fans. They didn't seem to mind, though. I saw a picture of them last night partying on a yacht, so I think they already had that booked beforehand, so that's kind of funny. I love seeing teams just, like, I can't wait to see pictures of Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner at a golf course or something today. Like, I just can't wait to see it. I'm so excited. Yeah, everything's fine.
So
Yeah.
is it time for you to mute my mic, Abe?
Well, no, you don't need to mute your mic. I'll probably want to bounce some ideas off you here.
Okay.
So, obviously, we're in a situation now where we don't know what the future brings. And I think that's the most worrisome part as a Leaf fan, is I don't know what decisions are going to be made from the top down, right?
Okay, so can I like feed you a couple things here?
Yeah.
Just okay, so let's start at the top. Extend or get rid of Dubas.
Extend.
Yeah. Keith?
Fire.
Replace with?
I don't know yet.
Okay, fair. I'm not. I don't. We'll
Bruce
start with
Boudreau's a name that interests me.
That's not a terrible one.
Jerry Galland interests me.
Yeah, out of New York, eh? All right, so let's start with the big 4. What do you do with? Let's start with John Tavares.
Well, I wish we could trade him because his $11 million over the next 2 years is crippling because he did not show up in the playoffs. He scored 1 big goal, and other than that, he was basically a liability at 5-on-5 at least. But he's got a no-move clause, so that's probably not going to happen because I don't think he will waive. He wants to be in Toronto pretty damn bad. He has always wanted to be in Toronto pretty damn bad. And now that he's got it, I don't think he'll let it go. The only thing that we can hope for is keeping him out for 2 years, and then he signs a very, very team-friendly deal after. That is, I think, all we can hope for at this point. I would like to see him make a career resurgence similar to the way Steven Stamkos has over the last couple of years. I just don't know if it's going to happen. They have very, very different skill sets, and I think Stamkos has a skill set that he can utilize in his older age better than Tavares can utilize his skill set. He's just so slow compared to everybody else in the league. It seems it's kind of difficult to watch, especially at 5-on-5. He gets beat to almost every puck, and it's not that he's not trying. It's just he cannot beat guys to pucks. He just doesn't have the facilities to do that. Yeah. Do you want to move on to another guy? So yeah, if we could trade, just sum it up. If we could trade Tavares, I would 100% advocate for that. But I do not believe that we have the ability to do that. I don't think there's even a chance he would waive his no trade clause, and I don't think anybody would want him at that price anyway.
Fair. William Nylander.
Stay. Extend him as soon as you possibly can. William Nylander, I've loved him his entire time as a Leaf, even when he was one of the most hated guys in the team. Like back in the number 29 days, I was a Nylander fan, and you know that. But yeah, 88 he was our best player, I would say, best forward anyway, throughout the entire playoffs. I know the stat line doesn't really show it, but if you watch the games, he just was the only guy who seemed to be able to create space for himself, the only guy that really was giving an effort during critical times. He scored the game tire in Game 5 with 4 something left on the clock, under 5 minutes. So he's a gamer, and he shows up when he needs to show up. And he had a career year this year, but most importantly is he showed up during these playoffs when a couple of other guys we'll talk about did not really show up. And there might be reasons for that. There might not be reasons for that. They might just be pussies, honest. I'm sorry to use that word, but they might just not have it. They might just choke every time. That might just be what it is. I don't know. So do you want to move on to one of those clowns?
Your words, not mine. Mitch Marner.
So I think it's time to explore the option of trading Mitch Marner. The thing is it has to be done before July 1st, or he also has a no-move clause that kicks in on July 1st. So the thing I do not like about that is we're going to get fleeced because teams know we have to trade him by July 1st, and we're not going to get anything for him. But I'm more looking forward to what we can do with $11 million in cap space, more than I am what we would get as a return for him.
So, like, what would you see as just like a rough return? Like, what would you be happy with getting for Mitch Marner?
2 years left on his deal, 10.893. I as a guy who had 99 points this year and was a Selke nominee, I would expect a couple firsts, a roster player, and a prospect, probably. He's one of the top 10 players in the league, in my opinion. So, in regular season, that is.
You like think like 2 firsts, a top 6 guy, and then prospects?
Yeah.
Is there like a player that you would like if you were Kyle Dubas that you would be kind of like looking to swap Marner with, or like realistically, not like oh yeah, like swap you for McDavid, like?
Yeah, there is a name, and it's a little bit of a nervous one because he's coming off of a major injury. Major injury. Tom Wilson would be a player that I would like to see as that top 6 piece, with a couple of firsts and some prospects, and maybe Rasmus Sandin back, honestly.
That was not the name I was expecting to hear at all. Okay. All right. Interesting.
Well, I'd love to tell you Matthew Tkachuk, but that's not going to happen. I'd love to tell you, like, I don't know who else, a player like that, but there aren't many players like that, man. And I know change for the sake of change isn't always a great thing, but sometimes you do have to make a change because what's status quo just ain't working, man. It just ain't working. They won around. Woohoo, whoop-de-doo. Austin Matthews, or let's keep it on Mitch Marner for a second. Mitch Marner was awful in the second round. The amount of turnovers that, like, his game 3 was one of the most, that honestly, in the context of how important that game was, that was the worst game he's ever played. Ever. The giveaways, not being able to create anything offensively, that did not look like a guy that should be nominated for the Selke, man. Like, that was a bad display of hockey, both ends of the ice, too. And to show up in game 3 and play like that, play your worst game of your career in the most important game of your career, I'm sorry, I can't have you on this team anymore. I don't want you on this team anymore. You are an embarrassment, the way that you played in that game 3. That I'll never be able to forgive what Mitch Marner did in that game 3. He was so bad. So fucking bad. And we can't win. We can't win, obviously, with the current setup of this team. And you know what? We talk a lot. The thing, I don't want to fall into this trap either. You hear a lot of talk about the Leafs always need to get tougher, get tougher, get tougher. We are tough. Want to know what the problem was? We couldn't fucking score a goal. That was the problem. It had nothing to do with hits, blocking shots, sticking up for teammates, blah, 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 blah. It had nothing to do with that. We couldn't score. That was the problem. We were 8th out of 8 teams in the second round in goal scoring. We were 1st out of 8 teams in the second round in hits and second in block shots, I believe. 1st in hits, 2nd in block shots out of the 8 teams in the second round to this point. This ain't about toughness. Not at all. This is about showing up and scoring fucking goals and doing your job. That's $44 million with what? 2 goals
I think.
over 5 games? That can't happen. That simply cannot happen. I don't know how much more black and white it can be as to why we lost that series. It had nothing to do with getting beat up or getting out hit or getting out blocked or outworked even. It was not being able to score goals. How do you address that in the summer? You know, that's a tough one, man. How are you supposed to address that? You can't. You don't have the money to. How do you get the money to? You got to get rid of one of the guys who couldn't fucking score goals. And to me, that's Mitch Marner, because Austin Matthews is Austin Matthews. I honestly think he might have been playing through an injury because he just looked totally out of sorts for the most part. I don't know if it was a wrist injury or I don't know what it was. He couldn't seem to get a handle on the most basic things that he normally has quite a good handle on. And he didn't seem to have the breakaway speed that he possesses in this series. 2 assists and no goals though through 5 games in the second round from him is also totally unacceptable. He wasn't as bad as Marner. Marner was awful. Marner was something like out of my nightmares, but Matthews was pretty bad too. And I don't think it's to the point where I want them both gone. Almost it is, but you got to do something about one of them, and it's not going to be Matthews to me. It's going to be the other one.
So I do have a question about Matthews. Do you think that trading his best friend affects his extension negotiations at all, or?
I'll tell you something, Gitano. If it does, then we have a much bigger problem than we originally thought, and blow it all up. If it does, then I trade him, because I don't get him the fuck out of that locker room if that's a problem. If trading your best friend when you make $11.5 million is a problem, then get the fuck out of here yourself. I'm sorry. Go to Arizona. I don't want you anymore if that's a problem. Because no. The main goal around here is winning, not your friendship. Sorry. So that's my thought on that.
Okay. Happy with the goaltending?
Well, it sucked to see Samsonov get hurt. I don't know. That was just
Luke Schenn. Obviously, that's not what I meant by that. But you're fine running back like Samsonov and probably Wool.
Yeah, Samsonov and Wool. Hopefully, we can send Matt Murray to Robidas Island or send him to anywhere else. Honestly, but yeah, I like the tandem of Samsonov Wool, and I like it more with them playing more 50-50, especially because hopefully Wool will be more healthy than Matt Murray, and they'll have the opportunity to split those starts 50-50, because I think Wool is a very, very good goaltender.
Yeah, he surprisingly good in those couple of games that he played. Not that I thought he would be bad, but definitely was kind of a level up from where I thought he was for sure.
Exactly. And I'm not a goaltender scout. I don't know what to look for in a young goaltender, but a lot of talking heads on TV anyway have said that he's probably the Leafs' most athletic goaltender. Maybe he doesn't have the experience that the other ones do, but he's probably their most talented and athletic goaltender. So that's interesting.
And then on D's kind of pretty locked up. So there's not a lot, because Riley's new contract kicks in this summer.
Oh, by God, is it worth it? He was so good.
That, as an outsider, that looked like a guy who was just refusing to let them lose.
Yeah.
There were some moments where it looked like he just grabbed them by the collar and just dragged them.
Yes.
It was quite impressive to watch, can't lie.
Yeah, no, that's what it felt like as a fan as well, watching, is this guy just won't quit. This guy just keeps doing things to put this team in a position to win. Yeah, he scored 2 goals in game 5. Only one of them counted, but just to be clear, I don't really want to spend too much time on it. We will do a little bit of a segment about officiating at the end. I kind of want to talk about it because it was awful. But just quick, we agree that was a goal, right? We agree?
I'm like 99% sure, yeah.
Like, that's a goal.
Like I said, like if that's I don't know, like I'm trying to think of Habs. If that's like Mike Matheson doing that, 100% that's a goal. But I also understand like Florida fans being like, oh no, because if that was against the Habs, I'd be like, oh god, it was no goal. But if that's the Habs doing that, 100% that's a goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, no, the defense looked very good. Brody looked like shit actually in this series, which was a big surprise because he's been one of the most steady defensemen we've had for the last 2 years. So hated that. Hole will be gone as a UFA.
You still have what, 2 years of McCabe?
Still have 2 years of McCabe. Got a year left of Geo, I believe. I would like to see Connor Timmins maybe play more. I'd like to see Timothy Pigrin's role elevated. I'd like to see Luke Shen re-signed because he was a massive factor. A massive factor in these playoffs. Anything that we did successfully, usually he had something to do with it. Any game that we won, any play that we made, he was a very, very effective player for us. And I was not expecting it from Luke Shen. I don't know about you, but damn, man, like he really, really stepped up to the plate and played very, very good hockey, especially for a big guy, big older guy. I was surprised how he was able to keep up. He was so good. So I'd like to see him resign. McCabe we still have. So yeah, it's tough, man. It's super tough. I don't imagine Muzzin's ever playing hockey again.
Yeah.
So he's probably out of the question as an option on D.
Robert Island probably for him.
Yeah, I would imagine so. He's been with the team. He was with the team throughout the entire playoff run, but that's a sad way for his career to end. But I think it's probably the right time for his career to end because of all the head injuries and neck injuries and stuff. Just
yeah, you don't want to play with that fire.
No, exactly. And yeah, let's be real. I'm not saying that this is the reason we lost because it's not the reason we lost, but that was one of the most poorly officiated series I have seen in my entire life. And that is not just because I am a Leaf fan. That was awful. Both ways. There were egregious calls that the Leafs could have been called for that were not. But I think we can agree that the most egregious, like it felt, honestly, after game 5, like there was a conspiracy against us. It really, really did.
And like I've said this now, I think on like 3 straight episodes, but like every time you say like, oh, like the league and like the refs and it's all biased against the Leafs, I always say like, oh, it's not, they're just entirely inept. Like it's not a conspiracy. But every time, like as it goes, the weeks by, like it's just harder for me to say that. And like game 5 was like, it was tough to watch that and be like, they're not trying to be that awful against you guys, but like it feels like they are.
Well, what it was is they put away their whistles, and then Florida was the only team committing infractions, right? Like, I think if the Leafs would have committed infractions, they probably would have got away with them too. They don't have to because they're a better hockey team than Florida. On paper, anyway. We know that. Individual players versus fuck Matthew Tkachuk and what he said today, by the way. He's an idiot. I hate that kid so much. I wish he was on my team, but I hate that kid. What?
What did he say? I missed it. I haven't checked Twitter yet.
He was like, yeah, they have more skilled players than we do. I think everybody knows that they have more skill than we do, but we are a better team and we know how to unite and get through situations together and all this. And it, like, no, dude, you had a hot goalie. That is why you won, because your goaltender was very, very good. After game 1, dude, Matthew Tkachuk was invisible. Completely invisible the entire series. We outplayed Florida in like 4 out of the 5 games. Like, honest to God, we did. Like, that's just the God's honest truth. And Game 3 was the game that they outplayed us, but in my opinion, we outplayed them in every other game. And Bobrovsky was Bobrovsky. They got a couple lucky bounces. The refs were inept, and that's that. And our stars couldn't score goals. And that was Bobrovsky. Like, he played very, very good. You got to give it to him. And you know he's going to turn back into a fucking bowl of tomato soup against Carolina. Like, you know he's going to allow 6 goals in his first period or something dumb like that. Like, you know.
They are going to absolutely flatten him.
What?
They're going to fucking flatten Bobrovsky. They're going to just run him right over. Either that, or he's winning a Conn Smythe and Florida's winning the cup.
Yeah,
there's no in between.
You know, like, you just know he's turning into a fucking piece of Swiss cheese. You know it. Like, actually, it's a fact that he is going to turn back into a pumpkin for this next series. Because why wouldn't he? That's what he has been for 2 goddamn years. It's so frustrating. Like, why does this guy, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, turn into the, like, prime Hasek again for 1 series against the Leafs?
Well, I mean, he still might do it against Carolina. We don't know for sure, but I would
not bet money on it. That you know he's about to take a shit. You know it. You stop. You know it.
Like I said, there's he's either getting chased in game 1 in like the first period and being awful from that point on, and that fucking Alex Leon kid is gonna get the rest of the net, or he's winning the Smythe and they win the cup.
That's my point, dude. This guy didn't even start the playoffs. Like, do you understand how insane that is? Considering what he just did to Toronto.
Like, it's insane, but also, like, we know that there was a good goalie there. Like, you know that at some, like, he has everything.
2 years ago, dude, was the last time he was a good goalie.
No, I get, but you know, let's think, you at least know he's hit that level before. He can get there. So it's not like Sam Montembeault fucking, like, turning into prime Dominic Hasek on you. You know what I mean? Or you've never seen it before.
For the last 2 years, like, since he signed his deal in Florida, he has been statistically the worst goalie in the league.
I know. But all I'm saying is at least he hit a level that he has played at before. I'd be way more pissed if, like, Alex Leon came in and fucking stood on his head, was prime Dominic Hasek. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd be way more upset about that.
Yeah,
like, Bobrovsky finding some form over 5 games is less, you know, of a piss off than some random fucking kid who's never been at that level finding that level for 5 games against Toronto. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get it. And you know what? Fuck him. That's all I have to say. Fuck Bobrovsky, because I hate him. I hate that guy, and I'll never, ever not hate that guy now. Like, he's done it to me twice now. Columbus and now fucking Florida, and I'm sick of him. I'm completely sick of him.
That's how I feel about Henrik Lundqvist.
I hate that guy so much. So let's move on to another topic, and let's talk about some specific incidents that happened in that game that were egregious miscalls. So let's go here. Let's start. Let's go game 4 first. The high stick on Bunting that drew clear blood right on the bridge of his nose. And they do not give him a double minor. They give him a single minor for high sticking. That was insane. Now let's move on to game 5. Back-to-back high sticks. One on Matthews, one on Bunting. I believe that was either late second or early third. I forget exactly. It's all a blur right now. But back-to-back high sticks. No call on either of them. End of regulation. This one pisses me off more than anything because, to me, it's more egregious than what Bunting did to Chernak. Mark Stahl just elbowed Mitch Marner right in the face, nowhere near the puck. Just elbowed him right in the face. I know there wasn't an injury on the play. I know Mitch Marner played in overtime, but what Michael Bunting did, honestly, yes, it was worthy of a suspension, but what he did was he was trying to create space. That was a hockey play. We were talking about hockey plays and how that has an effect on suspensions earlier, right?
Yeah.
What Michael Bunting did was a hockey play. What Mark Stahl did was intentionally trying to elbow Mitch Marner in the face for no reason at the end of regulation. How you don't call that when you are staring directly at it from across the ice. Like, on the camera, you can see that he is staring directly at Mark Stahl and Mitch Marner. Watches Mitch Marner get elbowed in the jaw and sent to the ice, flailing, and does not call a penalty. That was insane. And then the NHL doesn't even look at it. They don't even look at it.
And that's the thing, like where my thing of going like incompetence turns into like outright bias. And like there's you can't defend that. There's no way you can say that, a ref, or a linesman or whoever, didn't see it or didn't think, like it was so blatant. How are you not calling it?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the goal, though. Let's actually discuss that goal, because that was a goal. Morgan Rielly had a second goal in the game, and that game should have finished regulation 3-2 Toronto. Well, who knows what happens if that goal counts after. The game may have been completely different. But
the Leafs should have been up 3-2 late in the third.
Yes, and that was absolutely insane that was not called a goal. That's going to haunt me for the rest of my life, because to me, there were at least 2 camera angles that showed the puck in the net. And even if you want to say that puck only went into the net after the whistle, there was no whistle. There was never a whistle. Are we supposed to just magically know when the ref deems the play dead? Seriously, I want to know. Is that what we're supposed to do?
So, again, I've seen this rule used like properly, where there's the ref's intention and then the whistle follows later. But for him to use neither ref blew their whistle at any point in that at all.
No.
And that's the issue there. Because if they blew their whistle, let's just say 5 seconds after the puck went in the net, you'd be like, okay, there might have been, at least he was trying to blow his whistle. There was some intent to stop the play. But they just kind of let it go and never blew
and the
their
puck
whistle.
was clearly in the net on the one angle under Bobrovsky's skate. And to me, it was also clearly in the net right as Morgan Rielly's stick is at the post there. Right as the play happens. There is a shot of the white ice between the puck and the red line. Am I crazy, or did you see that too?
I will, if you send it to me, I will literally edit it in right here.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
look at this, and I'm pointing to it, right? Well, can you put it right here?
Yeah, I'll do my best to put it kind of there. So, I'm not great at editing, but I'll do my best. Look at
this. This is a goal. This is a goal. I don't understand. That's the second year in a row where we had a goal literally taken off the board. Stolen from us. Game 7 last year in Tampa. And Game 5 this year. And I'm not blaming that on why we lost the series. We lost the series in the first 3 games. I understand that. I completely understand that. But come on, man. That was in. They legitimately, for the second year in a row, stole a goal off of the board from the Toronto Maple Leafs. How am I supposed to not feel like there's a conspiracy?
It feels very Marty St. Louis Calgary against Tampa in 2004. When the Flames scored in Game 6, and it didn't count in overtime.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Wasn't it Marty Jelena?
Yeah, that's who it was. I knew it was one of the fucking... Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, yeah, you're gonna... it's one of those things, you watch that replay for the rest of your life and go, that was a goal. I don't know what the fuck happened. That was in.
Yes, it definitely was in. And... last particular case of egregious miscalls in that game was on the game winner.
Oh, you don't want to do Gudas before the hit after the whistle?
The camp, I'm talking specifically about Game 5.
Okay.
Right now, we can talk about that, though. Gudas absolutely destroyed Kempf as he touched the puck for a delayed penalty. Probably, actually, no, it wasn't as he did it. Sorry, it was about 2 full seconds after, a 1, 2, and then he smashed him into the boards. And thank God David Kempf did not get hurt, because that was charging. It was late. It was after a whistle. It was egregious. That was terrible. Radko Gudas is a horrible human being. He's a scumbag.
But again, what frustrated me there is Makar got a 1-game suspension for basically the same play earlier in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and
sure
Gudas got
did.
nothing.
He sure did. Radko Gudas also was the culprit for holding Kalle Järnkrok's stick, which prevented him from even making an attempt at Nick Cousins before he was able to shoot that puck. It was it directly led to the goal, the penalty that Radko Gudas should have been given, which was for holding the stick. And I'm sorry. I see a lot of people on Twitter telling me to stop crying about that. And you know what? No, that was a penalty. That should have been called a penalty. And like I said, it was a goal directly resulted from it because Järnkrok was not able to make a play on the puck, which he should have been allowed to do because Radko Gudas was literally double fisting hockey sticks almost in the crease. So I just gave you about 4 cases in one game of things that totally fucked the Toronto Maple Leafs over and are all direct results of incompetence from the referees. It's pathetic. It's truly pathetic that this is the best officiating that we can offer to this league. It's amazing to me. Like I can't believe that I refuse to believe that there aren't better officials somewhere out there that we can hire to officiate in the NHL because this is just it's unbelievable. And you know what? We've talked about the Department of Player Safety. Maybe I don't agree with you that Pietrangelo should be suspended for his entire career now, but I do think that he should have got more than Nurse did for instigating that fight. But game management has trickled upwards into fucking the Department of Player Safety, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I just it takes away from the product. We've talked about it at length how great playoff hockey is to watch. It's one of my favorite things in the world, playoff hockey. Even when my team gets eliminated, which everybody knows happens every year very early. So I have to watch it without my favorite team being a part of it. And you know what? It's one of the most enjoyable, entertaining, passionate things in the world. But this is diluting the product.
Yeah.
The officiating is diluting the product, and it's that simple. There's nothing else that can be said about that. It's embarrassing. They need to get their shit together. And that's it. They need to be accountable. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. That game 5 was one of the most despicable games I've ever seen officiated in my life.
It blows my mind that because we've talked about this, that the owners run the league, right? Like Jeff Molson, MLSE, like those are the people that run the league. It blows my mind. Exactly, right? It blows my mind that they just are okay with this. Because like if they wanted to change, if they said, hey, we don't want this game management bullshit, call the fucking rule book. Referees would call the rule book. Like there would be black and white. There's no gray area, no how I interpret it versus how you interpret it. Like the rule book would be called. And it blows my mind that they just don't want that.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you, and I don't understand it either. I think even if they did, there's no punishment for these guys when they do a bad job. Absolutely none. They don't get punished at all.
Like at least even in like I can talk like World Cup and like Champions League. If a ref has a fucking shocker, like they won't ref in that competition anymore. Like I've seen refs get sent home from World Cups and European Championships. Like it happens.
Yes.
And whereas in the NHL, it feels like I know Chris Lee is the Habs guy. It's like, oh, like you called a terrible game against the Habs. Here's 3 more.
Yeah, no,
Wes McCauley with the Leafs. It's
See, I'm sorry. I have Sportsnet on just on the side here. I just watched Pietrangelo receive about 5 egregious slashes, like from Draisaitl. Like, and maybe they weren't overhead come down on a guy, but they were a pretty good wind up, dude. Like, you can't just suspend guys for anyway. We've had enough talk about that. But
we'll argue for 6 hours about this after we finish recording.
Yes, that's a good idea. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about the Leafs. If you want to go down the lineup and give me names, I'll just give you a quick stay or go.
So we did the big 4. Bunting?
Go.
Yarncroak.
Stay. I think he's under contract for 3 more years.
Okay. Camp.
Stay.
Also, just going through this, I don't know the whole Leafs roster. I'm just going off the guys I remember. So there might be guys that you might have to chip in here. Get those guys. Zach Aston Reese.
Indifferent. I don't care. Honestly, he's not a core member. He's kind of he's like a 13th forward kind of guy. I'd take him as a 13th
plug and play kind
forward.
of guy.
Pardon?
Plug and play kind of guy.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So indifferent.
Lafferty.
Same. Go. I think I didn't really get anything from him. He didn't do much for me.
Achari.
Stay.
I think that's all the Leafs I can think of.
Kerfoot. Bye.
Oh yeah, Kerfoot.
Nice. Sign as long term as you possibly can. Ryan O'Reilly, if we can find a way to get him for a reasonable hometown discount, stay. John Tavares, you know my opinion on him. What do we got here? McCabe, stay obviously, but he's got some term. Matt Murray, Robidaw Island. Simmons out.
He's UFA though, right? This year or this summer?
Yeah. Gustafsson, indifferent. I think he'd be a good guy to maybe get some more minutes than he had this year. That might be worth looking into. Liljegren, stay, and I want him to get more ice time. Brody, stay, and I want him to get more ice time. Giordano, stay, but less ice time. Justin Hold on a rocket to Korea with Mitch Marner. Yeah. Honestly, I'm almost excited that Alex Kerfoot is no longer a Toronto Maple Leaf as of July 1st. It's exciting stuff.
Until he gets re-signed.
Yeah. I would like to see Nick Robertson get some ice next year. Bobby McMahon is a good player in the AHL. I'd like to see get some ice time. Yeah. That's all I have, man. I got nothing else. Until next year.
Nothing else for the show or just Leafs? Because I got one more thing I want to mention.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the World Championships have started. Canada started off the tournament with a 6-0 win. Sam Montembeault picked up the shutout. And I do believe they play soon, actually. Or they were playing, against Slovakia. Last time I checked, they were up, I think, 5-1.
Nice. I'm not going to lie, I haven't watched a single game of that.
Well, they've only played one, yes. They beat Slovakia 5-2.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
Any of the Leafs expected to maybe take the trip across the pond or no?
Not that I've heard of. I would not want to see that, to be honest. I think that they should probably all go home and cry with their families because, man, they lost. I don't think they should go play more hockey right now. I think a lot of them are probably very, very banged up too. But anyway, and yes, Murray out. I'd like Samsonov to stay and Wold to stay. I think that's the 1A, 1B tandem. And it's really a 1A, 1A tandem. I think they're both very, very good goaltenders. So we'll see what happens, but it's going to be an interesting summer. I don't know. There's been a lot of talk that Keefe and Dubas are a package deal. I don't know if that's the case. I don't think that's the case. And if it is, similar to what I was saying about Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, if you trade one, if it affects the other guy's contract negotiations, then you should just get rid of them both. I kind of feel the same way about Dubas and Keefe because this is a lot more than about their friendship, right?
So you would rather lose Dubas by not bringing in Keefe than keep Dubas
by keeping Keefe. Yes.
Yeah.
I think at pretty much every opportunity that he had to get outcoached in this playoff, Sheldon Keefe was outcoached. Yeah. In every chance that the other team had to outcoach him, whether it was John Cooper or Paul Maurice. They really, really fleeced. And there were just some decisions that were incredibly stupid. Like, there were a couple of games where Justin Holl was out there with a minute and a half left. Like, that is inexcusable. Nylander not being on PP1, inexcusable. I'm sorry, inexcusable. The amount of ozone starts that David Kampf got, especially against tired lines and fourth lines that were stuck out there on icings, inexcusable. Like, yeah, he won the faceoff and then gave the puck away every time. Every time. He has the offensive ability of a cat. Like, I'm not even kidding. It's unreal. And yeah, I think Keefe, I don't know if they're hearing him anymore in there.
Yeah, I think,
and I think he's a bad coach. I don't think he's that good of a coach. I'm sorry. He's never shown me something that's like, wow, that's a great coach. You know,
I think he was a great transitional coach. Like, he was the right coach for like the last couple of years to kind of get this core like moving forward. But I don't think he has it in his repertoire to kind of take them to that next level, that where a guy like Bruce Boudreau would, or Gerard Gallant would. And like, it feels like Marty St. Louis might not be the guy that wins a cup with this Montreal Canadiens group or goes for the big run, but he's the perfect guy to kind of start them along that path. He might not be the guy that finishes the journey, and I feel like Keefe's kind of the same. Like, he's not the guy to get you to the end, but he did a great job getting to where he got to. He's hit his ceiling with this group for sure.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, and I would not bring him back. And if keeping Dubas is dependent on keeping Dubas is dependent on keeping Keefe, then yeah, no, both gone, and figure something out, because that's just unacceptable at this point in time. Especially, like, they have not had any success. You're not allowed to make those calls. Right? Like, you can't. I'm sorry. If you were a Stanley Cup champion and I was like, I will leave if you fire my coach, then we might do some talking. But you haven't won shit. If I'm Brandon Shanahan, I'm firing who I want. If I tell you that the coach is done, then the coach is done.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who's Tampa's GM. Is it Breezeball?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if Breezeball says fire me, or like fire Cooper, you fire me, like, there's some weight with that, right? Like,
yes, exactly. Exactly. But Sheldon Keefe and Kyle Dubas do not carry that weight yet. No. They just don't. They won one game in the second round. That's as far as they've gotten in 7 years. Or no, I guess Keefe hasn't been there for 7 years. Dubas has been there for 7 years. But I don't know what to tell you, man. It's sad what happened this week. It's predictable, but it's sad. And it's honestly going to be tough to watch the rest of these playoffs, because especially in the East, because I thought this was a very, very good opportunity for the Leafs to go all the way. They had a team that could have done it, man. If they got goal scoring from the guys who get paid a lot of money to score goals, then they could have done it. That was the difference. 2 goals in 7 straight games ain't going to cut it in the playoffs, man. It just ain't.
All right. Anything else to say to Leafs Nation, Ave, before we wrap it up here?
No, nothing at all, man.
All right. Well, with that, this has been episode 96 of the Bitter Rivals podcast. I'm Gitano. That is Avery Roush. Check us out. All of our social links are down below for us and the Game Entertainment and Media. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, the whole shebang's under there. Twitter, Instagram. And we will see you again next week for episode 97.